Like we have gone over many important topics related to teaching. However, I've selected 7 different topics to go over and why they are critical to implement in classrooms. My topics are perceptions of effective teachers, Piaget's theory, Vygotsky's theory, James Garcia's theory, operant conditioning, the social learning theory, and space study inside the classroom. A happy teacher equals happy students. Effective teachers are supportive and set goals with intention for each student. Teachers have knowledge of how to transmit information from inside the classroom to real life situations. All learning is understanding trust built relationships with each student inside of your classroom for a better learning. Piaget's theory is all about using prior knowledge to build and learn new things. There are 4 different stages: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. Assimilation and accommodation are the process of understanding a new object by using information you already know, allowing students to make connections while also doing so as the teacher inside of the classroom. For Ragazzi's theory, the main idea is plasticity, which is creating and strengthening new connections. I have a pyramid representing the average learning retention rates. This is an important idea based on the zone of proximal development, leading students to the goal that kids can reach a sweet spot of learning. All students learn and develop differently, therefore, mediation is important in this theory. James Garcia's theory is based on crisis and exploration and stages of commitment, with stages of diffusion, moratorium, foreclosure, and identity achievement. It's important for students to understand that they might go back and forth with the stages, especially moratorium and achievement. This is important to understand while students are trying to find their identity outside of the classroom. Operant conditioning is related to the experiment conducted by B.F. Skinner. Operant conditioning focuses on voluntary behaviors. It is used to incrementally shape behavior by providing positive consequences for desired behaviors and negative consequences for undesired behaviors. The difference is giving and adding for positive and taking away for negatives. Modeling is key to receive a stimulus. The social learning theory is learning by others' successes or failures. This is establishing good behaviors and models in the classroom, demonstrating expectations and different learning conditions. However, with this, you might have to step back and reteach when behaviors aren't modeled correctly or the way that you want inside of your classroom. Space studies lead students to long-term retention. A lot of students end up cramming when studying and have to reteach themselves while studying. Space studies is to review, not relearn, and to help recall information more effectively later. This also makes the teacher's jobs easier when it comes to reviewing in the classroom for the tests. All of these topics are critical for teachers to know and understand. This information will be carried throughout my years as a teacher. My strategies might change, but all of the main ideas won't. These also help me to understand how my students will learn. These theories explain why certain teaching methods work and others do not in each classroom, and they're all different. Implementation is the most critical part of all of this. Effective teachers need to be organized and prepared in the classroom. Knowing your students' needs and getting involved in your students' learning and different learning styles is key. Setting clear expectations and routines will help to engage students in meaningful instruction, and this will also help with implementation. Implementing Piaget's theory is allowing students to make outside connections. Balancing what students know versus what they don't know will allow assimilation. Assess where they are at when learning, not where you think they should be. Using prior knowledge for students to build off what they already know to help them learn new things and make connections in and out of the class. Implementing Vygotsky's theory with small group discussions and many check for understandings. This will allow students to be able to lean on their more knowledgeable other in the group. As a teacher, modeling step by step, doing it together, and then allowing students to work independently will allow for formative assessments for students in the classroom. Implementing the James Garcia's theory will help students to understand what they took away and reflect on what they have learned. Implementing exploration and self-reflection will help students to with different crisis and exploration stages. Allow students to make their own decisions and explore the stage that they are in to help them with their future out of the classroom. Implementing operant conditioning has a lot to do with focusing on punishments and reinforcements. Reinforcements are proven to be more effective than punishments. Some example of reinforcements would be class dojo, brownie points, and stoplights. These are all helpful for classroom management, which is very important for implementation and structure when it comes to any class. Implementing the social learning theory can be easy with putting or showing examples in your classroom. Hold each student to individual accountability and demonstrate behaviors in different learning conditions. By putting up posters and classroom rules, students have examples of how to act all around them, which can also act as reminders when they aren't modeling correct behavior. Space studies is all about reviewing. As a teacher, you can revisit old lessons while planning and to help transfer knowledge. Different examples of implementation is Kahoot, Book It, and Exit Tickets. Each of these count as different types of review to help students stay away from cramming. Use the strategies that work best for the students in your class. Remind yourself as a teacher that implementation takes time and isn't going to happen overnight. Not only does it take time for you to learn about these, but it will also take time for your students to retain. As a teacher, you have to build routines, learn about your students, and continuously adjust your approaches. Becoming an effective teacher is a gradual process that develops with practice and reflection. As a teacher, take full accountability. Students will always be watching and always listening, even when you think they aren't. You are the main role model in the classroom, which means you have to take full responsibility for your actions. Also, experimenting different strategies and reflecting on what does and does not work will get easier with time and a lot of reflection in the classroom. I chose all of these topics with intention and expectations for my future classroom. These topics can be helpful for not just me, but for all future educators. The connections with all of these topics is key. These topics matter because they directly impact student learning and help me become the kind of teacher that I want to be in my future classroom. I enjoyed this class and learned so much information from it. All of these topics give me knowledge and skills I need to use when I become an effective teacher. These topics aren't just ideas, they are practical tools that I will use every day in my future classroom. Overall, everything I learned builds the foundation for my teaching and shapes the kind of educator I want to become in the future.